2023 was the year of sim racing for myself. It was something that I picked up as a hobby and something I would want to do over the course of the entire year last year, as opposed to, say, working on my car like I had previously. I've had a great time sim racing and getting into this hobby, whatever you want to call it. People take it very seriously, or they just have fun with Forza, wherever you're at. I just want to tell you my first year experience sim racing and what I've ended up with. And we're going to take a look at the rig. Taking a look at the rig and its current setup. See, I got some gloves because I will say you do get sweaty. Steering wheel, obviously, this is the quick release. So it just comes off like that. And just like that, you're ready to race. The other part is obviously that the wheelbase is very small with the Moza R5 Bundle here. If you can see, I don't know if you can, but basically I was able to get 4 screws. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Some people online had said that the R5 was not going to mount with 4 screws. I was able to, I believe it came with them. The base for this TR80 Lite, this segment here, can in fact incorporate the Moza R5. And on the topic of the steering wheel, I have a couple things to say. So I have the Moza R5, obviously. I got the bundle, and I would not recommend getting the bundle without the brake mod kit. With that bundle, you get the ES wheel, and with the ES wheel, you have 2 options. You can get the Formula mod for like $40 or something, around that price, or you can get, well, I shouldn't say you will get this wheel right here. So this one is good for rally, obviously, and any other kind of driving where you wouldn't want more of a GT3 Formula style wheel. I use this primarily with GT3. I've been doing a lot of career mode and Assetto Corsa Competizione because I never got around to it. And it's been fun, and I wouldn't do that necessarily with this wheel. It is a good wheel. It's quality, especially as compared to the Logitech wheels. And while we're here and we're holding this and we're taking a look at it, here's some sounds. Make your own judgment. I'm okay with the clickies, the clickiness of the wheel. So this is shifting, obviously. You got buttons. So yeah, very satisfying. And of course, it's quick release, super handy. With the Moza, you just pull on right there. And those ball bearings will line that up for you. So that is just a quick little close-up of the wheel. And I'm happy with it. You take yourself a little more seriously when you don't just have a Logitech G29 and a better seat. It's a whole package. So let's look at the rest of the sim rig, like I was saying. With the wheel back on the rig, let's talk about the other aspects here, which are very important. And I would argue that second or first most important would be the brake pedal. I'll get you a better view right now. This is the brake mod. It has a spring up here and a kind of rubber. You can see that material. Essentially, if I pull that, it really adds a good amount of stiffness, and when you're sitting into the bucket seat, if you're braking properly, you will feel a point where it is basically stopped and you can kind of modulate it around that. And I believe that that's basically the bushing, or this little rubber bit here. I'm very pleased with it, generally. I would like a load cell at some point so that I can brake to a amount of force and not a point at which the spring stops. So keep that in mind. But without this brake mod, it is going to be very, very different and kind of gross because this pedal feels like this pedal. So just keep that in mind. And while we're here, obviously there's a big screen. And why is this screen here? Well, it's because I bought this about, 4 or 5 years ago. I don't mind. I get away with it just fine. There are people who say with higher refresh rates, you will obviously drive better because you'll have more time to respond. But with this screen, I'm quite happy with it. At some point we'll probably upgrade. But on the topic of this screen, let's talk about your other option. And while that TV might not be the best option in terms of resolution and refresh rate, I do have a Quest 3. Now, I made a video on this about a month or two ago, and it did fairly well in terms of what I'm used to, but there was definitely a lot of feedback in the comments and a lot of questions people had. I will not be going over the answers to those questions or covering the comments. You can check out another video I'm going to make, which I will link here when it is made. But in the meantime, I will say that having options in terms of where your eyes are glued, VR is very, very nice. Obviously, there's a whole bunch of reasons that VR is good for racing. Essentially, variety is very good to have, and I've enjoyed this quite a bit. There is more detail that you could go into with displays in racing, like FOV and calculating the actual distance, but that is not what I'm going to talk about. If you have issues with one or another, you can choose one, or, if you want realism, VR is also great for that as well. Jumping back to the rig, I will say this is the Next Level Racing TV stand, freestanding stand. I very much appreciate this existing. It has made this setup possible because I could not find any other way to get a more compact setup. It saves space, it's cheap, it's sturdy, I approve. On the topic of the rig, it's not quickly adjustable unless you buy a part that goes along that extruded aluminum on the bottom there. Now, this is fine for me because I'm the only one who sits here and races. If you have multiple people, you'll want to get that seat slider. It is more money. There are bolts that you can adjust it with an Allen key, and it will get into a position which you can find yourself comfortable in. You can obviously pull it back and forth, and you can change like the tilt of the seat, which I really appreciate. I didn't have it set up correctly at all at first, and if you build a rig like this, you'll, for the first time at least, do something similar where you sit down and you're like, that's close enough. And then with an hour or two sitting in it, you're like, I really need to adjust it. It's been adjusted. I had it tilted back. I love that. I don't love that you can't do it easily and quickly, but that is more money, which is also why I still think that this is wonderfully boring. And what I mean by that is, like, economically, it's wonderfully boring. It's everything I need and everything I don't. I know I already said that. It was definitely worth it because I sold my other rig, so I got it. I could justify buying it. Definitely shop around because I only have experience with this one, but what I can tell you about it is I have enjoyed every single minute I'm sitting in it and every single race I've had within my control. A bad race could very well be my fault, but I've never had a complaint with the rig while racing. So as far as the build quality, it's solid, looks very nice. A lot of people were saying that you can scratch the extruded aluminum. I got away without doing that, although I'm sure if you looked in certain areas, it might be a little worse. Definitely lower it so your butt is way lower, gives you nice leg support. This pedal plate here is also extremely heavy, so adjusting that can take some time. You gotta loosen bolts and kind of wiggle it and shimmy it. You'll end up probably scratching it. I don't know if I did because, well, I can't see it, and I'm not taking it apart anytime soon. If you're not going to sell it anytime soon, if you don't care, you don't care. If you're like me, just be careful as you build it and when you adjust it. Otherwise, you really won't scratch it a whole lot, and you should have a nice matte black rig here. And on the topic of the rig itself, we're talking about the TR80 Lite. Well, there's another thing to talk about here, which is the bucket seat itself. So you can obviously order a sim rig, and usually they don't come with seats. So this purchase is misleadingly cheap if you just want the rig. If you already have a chair, great, you'll save money because the GT bucket seat was, I believe, $300. I'm happy with it. Frankly, I'm pretty happy with it. The cushions are Velcro, so if the cat destroys them, I can theoretically replace them. It's very sturdy. It has a weight limit of 300 pounds, so keep that in mind. And if you don't get the seat adjuster, depending on how you mount it, it could be kind of clunky after the first time you set it up and you go through the process of driving on it for the first hour. You don't like how it's set up. When you go to readjust it, consider messing with the screws and stuff just to make sure everything's not too tight, but not too loose. It's hard to explain. I'll be honest, the guide to set up the seat wasn't that good. Other than that, I mean, this bucket seat, if you were looking at getting this by itself, is it worth $300? I'm not sure because you would have to look around for the rig that you want. And I wanted to bring it up because I threw some stickers on it. It is in fact mine. I got an American flag because you need that. If you can't tell, the cat also loves it. Yeah, she's in frame. She's right there. So hopefully that helps. That then leads me to the remaining piece of the rig, which is the cheap Amazon eBay handbrake. Braking is important, and there's obviously multiple ways you can brake, even if it's in a car that doesn't exist. A virtual one still requires a virtual handbrake, and that's what this Amazon eBay handbrake is. And I have some bad news, and that bad news is that it squeaks, and it's very loud, and I don't necessarily want to put WD-40 in something or on something that I paid a lot of money for. So I don't know if I'll be fixing that squeaking issue anytime soon. Should you save up and avoid the eBay Amazon handbrake? Probably. Nevertheless, though, I am happy I have it, and just be wary of that. Moving on. It has been a pretty good year in terms of racing explicitly. Also, I have a Discord server. If you want to race with me, join the Discord. Generally speaking, my experience has been pretty good with sim racing, and I do have some thoughts, and we will close out on those thoughts. Now that I've walked you through the setup that I use basically every day, because if you don't practice, you'll get slower is what I've found, I just kind of want to talk about my experience with it. And frankly, it's perfect. It's perfect for me because it has everything I need, and it doesn't have anything I don't need. I can definitely upgrade because it's extruded aluminum, and there's a big environment for all those upgrades, accessories, whatever. If you want a button box, if you want to shake the rig, you can do that. My year-long journey with sim racing has been a lot of fun. I've definitely become a better driver. I've also had a lot of fun building like a little community of sim racing. Every Friday I'm live. But this last year, beyond me becoming faster, has definitely pushed me to figure out what I want to do here on YouTube. And if you've subscribed recently, you're either here because the Quest 3, the live streams, or ECU Every Car Update. And this whole YouTube journey started in 2017. A lot of you, if you are a subscriber, are here because I worked on cars. I had a nitrous Impala. In fact, if you hold on a minute, I still have the Zex Blackout nitrous bottle. This was in the back of my Impala for 2 or 3 years. Essentially, thank you. Thank you a lot for giving me a great 2023, especially at times where 2023 didn't seem so great. And I hope that 2024 will be better. Thank you for watching. If I helped you out with the sim rig, if my journey sounds similar to yours, maybe you could join me with my Friday live streams. I'm live 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And like I said, thanks for 2023. I'm excited for 2024. Quality is king. I'll see you in the next one. Have a nice night.